Good evening, and thanks for spending your Saturday night with us. I'm Brooke Buckner alongside meteorologist Simone Thomas. And Simone, we had a beautiful start to our weekend. What should we expect for the rest of the night and our Sunday?
So heading into Sunday, it'll be a little bit warmer, but also a bit of a breeze. And here is why. So kind of looking at satellite and radar across much of the middle and deep south, that area of high pressure that started out this morning to our north is starting to travel east. As it does so, we're going to see that wind direction coming from more of the southeast through the evening. But we got that cold front that's right now hanging out in the northern plains. As that moves south and east, it's actually going to move through the state on Monday. But ahead of that, we are seeing those temperatures warming up. So tomorrow, we'll probably start out in those lower to middle 50s. By the time we get to late morning, upper 50s, we're really looking to peak in the afternoon in the lower to middle 80s. And then again, we could see some breezy winds at times. Winds could gust up to 30 miles an hour in the afternoon, though across the state. We're going to see some middle to upper 80s in central Arkansas. Further south and west, we could see a few locations making a run at 90 degrees. So definitely warmer tomorrow, but we'll talk more about the rest of the upcoming week and that 11-day outlook.
Thanks, Simone. Tonight, the Pulaski County Sheriff's Office announcing the recovery of more than 30 neglected animals from a home on Rose Lane in North Little Rock. The animals were taken to Jack's Second Chance Rescue Ranch. Both the Sheriff's Office and the rescue are working to get the animals healthy again and adopted. Parents and student athletes in North Little Rock took to the streets this weekend, going door to door to raise awareness about the upcoming millage vote. THV 11's Rebecca Brown shows us how the community is stepping up and what's being done to help ensure a different result this time around.
The goal is just to get the word out and get as much information out so people can be educated on what we're trying to do.
For coaches and student athletes in North Little Rock, commitment doesn't end on the field. On Saturday, they hit the streets one block at a time, making sure their message about the upcoming millage reaches every neighbor.
This is an opportunity to get them a brand new school, new learning environments, new technology, so it's a really big deal.
Last year, North Little Rock voters rejected the district's proposal to raise the millage rate by 4 mills. But this time around, campaign co-chair Luke King is hoping the outcome will be different.
We have, in partnership with the state, we have been given a grant for $20.8 million. The key is if we don't get this passed, that money goes back to the state. So it's really critical that we get this so we can maximize our capability in doing all of these projects.
The projects will include a new middle school, renovating the historic Old Main building, and adding a new indoor sports complex. Some voters have expressed concern about raising property taxes, but King says it's important to look at the numbers.
I think for $150,000 appraised value of a home, you're looking at approximately $140, $150 in additional tax revenue or additional tax for any given year. So understand that we're asking people to help sacrifice for us, but we wouldn't be doing it unless it was extremely important.
In North Little Rock, Rebecca Brown, THV 11 News.
Thanks, Rebecca. King says the team plans to campaign every weekend leading up to the special election vote on May 13th. In order to vote in that election, you must be registered to vote by this Monday. Today, dozens of folks came out to make their voices heard at the state capitol as part of a peaceful protest against the Trump administration. One of the event organizers says the administration isn't looking out for them when it comes to their rights.
We really want them to pay attention to what the people want and stop trying to criminalize anyone that's not white and anybody that's queer, like any LGBT, any of that. Because it's hard enough out here without us having to fight against each other. And the government works for us, we don't work for them.
Today's protest wasn't the only one. A couple others took place in Mountain Home and Harrison as well. Another busy week for the 95th General Assembly at the Capitol, with several high-profile votes and bills by lawmakers. The Senate had 5 unsuccessful votes on SB 354. It's the bill that would clear $750 million for the Franklin County Prison. Senate Leader Bart Hester said he will not put it to another vote unless 27 other senators requested it. That's the total votes needed for it to pass. House Bill 1150 also passed votes in both the House and the Senate. It would limit pharmacy benefit managers from owning the pharmacy itself. Pharmacists across the state worry that several major pharmacies would close down from the rule. The bill heads to Governor Sanders' desk to sign. CBS issued a statement asking the governor to veto the bill. Meanwhile, in D.C., President Trump announcing changes to tariff plans when it comes to electronics. Christian Benavides shows us what the new plan means for tech companies and shoppers.
In a move that marks a significant pivot in President Trump's tariff policy towards China, the U.S. Customs and Border Protection issued new guidance late Friday, stipulating smartphones, computers, and many other tech devices will be exempted from new tariffs imposed by President Trump. The move is good news for big tech companies, notably Apple, which manufactures most of its products in China, including the iPhone. The new guidance also includes exclusions for other electronic devices, including semiconductors, flat panel TVs, flash drives, and memory cards, and is being called something of a retreat in the Trump administration's escalating trade war with China. The White House said Saturday the exemptions were made because President Trump wants to ensure that tech companies have time to move production to the U.S. China's 125% tariff on U.S. goods takes effect this weekend after President Trump raised his tariff to 145% and excluded China from a 90-day pause, setting off a roller coaster week on Wall Street. Late Friday, the president held firm on tariff hikes for China.
We're talking to a lot of countries, and ultimately, we pretty much can do what we want to do, but we want to be fair. We can set the tariff, and they can choose not to deal with us, or they can choose to pay it.
In other global news, the White House concluded a day of talks with Iran Saturday that included discussions of nuclear weaponry.
I want them not to have a nuclear weapon. I want Iran to be a wonderful, great, happy country, but they can't have a nuclear weapon.
Iranian officials called the talks constructive. Discussions will continue next week in Oman. Christian Benavides, CBS News, Miami.
The Trump administration's sweeping immigration moves were challenged by the U.S. Supreme Court this week. The court ordering the White House to work to return a Maryland man who was mistakenly deported to a Salvadoran prison. The president said he will do what he can.
I'm not totally well versed as to the specific case, but if they said to bring him back, I would tell them to bring him back.
The White House also announced plans in the U.S. Southwest. In an executive order, President Trump gave the Pentagon control of federal lands on the southern border. It includes an area called Roosevelt Reservation, a narrow strip of land that passes through California, Arizona, and New Mexico. The order says it would enable the Department of Defense to work on things like barrier construction and enforcing security. Tonight, that deadly chopper crash over New York is raising new questions about the safety of helicopter tours. Everyone on board, including a family of 5 visiting from Spain, were killed when the chopper plunged into the Hudson River Thursday afternoon. Allie Baubin has the latest.
Dive teams searched the chilly waters off New York City for missing parts of a helicopter that plunged into the Hudson River Thursday. Everyone on board was killed, including the pilot, Navy veteran Sean Johnson.
His dream was to be a pilot.
And a family of 5 from Spain.
They left together, they left without suffering, and they left with a smile on their faces.
The helicopter, a Bell 206L4, is featured on the tour operator's website in a video touting safety. Thursday's tragedy was the city's deadliest helicopter crash since 2018, when a sightseeing chopper went down in the East River, killing 5.
This is a concern that we've raised for a number of years.
In a 2021 report, the National Transportation Safety Board sounded the alarm, saying the public is likely unaware the air tour industry has less stringent requirements than other aviation operations. Robert Sumwalt was NTSB chair at the time.
There's less oversight by the Federal Aviation Administration. There may be different maintenance requirements. There may be different requirements for the pilots maintaining proficiency.
The FAA says it plans to make some of the NTSB's recommended changes, and last year required air tour operators to implement safety management systems.
The FAA needs to step up to the plate and close these loopholes.
Something absolutely has to change, because not only was Sean's life lost, but 2 parents and 3 children.
And Sumwalt says there is no national database for air tour companies, and the FAA cannot surveil what it does not know about. This tour company, New York Helicopter, has suspended all flights until further notice, and its CEO told CBS News they, quote, follow all the rules and more. Allie Bauman, CBS News, New York.
Tonight is prom night for lots of high schools around the state, and with thousands of teens out driving and partying tonight, police are trying to warn about the dangers of drunk driving. North Little Rock Police and several other agencies came together for a drunk driving simulation program so teens could see the potential dangers.
So by providing this firsthand experience, these are real life situations that they're in, and we're hoping to plant a seed that's going to last a lifetime and that these students will never drink and drive.
The city pointed to a study from 2022 that showed there were more than 13,000 deaths related to drinking and driving. Tax day is getting closer. After the break, we'll check out a report from the IRS about some of the scams that spike in popularity this time of year.
Well, if you've loved today, you'll definitely love tomorrow. We're getting up to the 80s with a bit of a breeze. Winds could gust up to 30 miles an hour tomorrow. Now, we'll talk a little bit about this upcoming week right after the break.
And here's a look at what's streaming tonight on THV 11+. Catch these shows live or your favorites like Eat It Up on demand. You can download the THV 11+ app straight to your TV and watch for free. THV 11 News at 10 is back right after this.